It's Transformers96 here with another top 10 video. So it's that time of year again guys, where I do my top 10 videos. So I do a top 10 favorite toys of 2014, which I'm doing right now. I also do the top 5 most disappointing, the top 10 favorite movies, and then I just rank all the hot toys that I got in the year by my favorite to least favorite. So that's what I will be doing right now. So like I said, this is my top 10 favorite toys. Now these are just regular toys. I do not count hot toys because I'm making a separate video for them, as well as I don't count like statues or anything like that. So they're just regular, you know, Hasbro, Mattel, any type of toy like that. So I do this every year. This is my 4th one. Very excited to do it yet again. Like I say each time, I base my decisions partially on the figure, how good the figure is, and then partially on how much I just enjoyed it myself. Typically, if I enjoyed it, it's because it's a good figure, so that kind of goes hand in hand. Overall, these are my opinions, though. I'm not saying that these are the best. I'm saying that these were my favorite, and I had a lot of fun with these, and they're just good figures overall. So, without further ado, let's get started. At number 10, we have the Transformers Age of Extinction Lockdown Deluxe figure. So overall, I really did enjoy this figure a lot. It was one that, character-wise, I just had to get, so I bought it, you know, early from China on eBay, and it was totally worth it. I had a ton of fun with it. Took just about 1 million pictures, and, you know, just on Instagram for like a week straight. Just all I was posting was pictures of this guy in different scenes and stuff. So I just had a lot of fun with it. The transformation is very good, and just it's easy enough, but it still looks good in both modes. Overall, a really great figure. Definitely deserving a spot on this list. Not very high, of course, but number 10, the Lockdown definitely deserves. Nice spot goes to the Amazing Spider-Man 2 Legend Series Electro figure. So overall, I really did love this Electro figure. A lot of fun stuff you could do with it. I love that you had 2 different heads as well as 2 different hands. You know, a couple things not perfect about it, but definitely a very fun figure with good articulation, and just very fun to pose with your Spider-Man figure. Definitely deserving that number 9 spot on my list. The 8th spot goes to the Captain America 2 Winter Soldier Infinite Series Legends line of Black Widow. So this was a character that needed to be made for a long time. They finally made her in this series, and I'm just, overall, the actual figure is quite nice. Some proportions that aren't the best, but overall articulation is really good. I like the paint a lot, but most of all, what I love about this figure is that they could have easily just given us the head sculpt from Captain America 2, and obviously nobody's going to complain about that, but they you know, knew the fans enough to know that we're going to want an Avengers hairstyle, so that's what they gave us. They gave us not only Captain America 2 head sculpt, but an Avengers head sculpt, which really just sold me and made me so happy. Unfortunately, missing guns, which is a must-have for this figure, but other than that, a really great figure, and definitely deserving a spot on this list. Alright, so on the number 7th place, we have the Marvel Legends Infinite Series Miss Marvel figure. So she came in a 3-pack. I am not including the 3-pack, I'm just including her as a figure herself. Overall, this was one that I really wasn't anticipating, didn't expect much from, and overall just really loved it. One of the few women body sculpts that I think really got proportions down pretty nicely when you compare it to the comics. I think that she looks great. Articulation is stunning. Not only does she have all the great joints, but she's not hindered really in any way, and you can do a lot of great, fun, iconic, you know, comic style poses with her. Overall, absolutely love this figure. Definitely one that as soon as I started messing around with, knew was going to make it in this top 10 list, and she rightfully deserves that spot. And at the 6th spot, we of course have the Marvel Legends Amazing Spider-Man 2 Infinite Series Carnage figure. So of course Carnage was definitely just a character that I absolutely loved. Always great to get a Carnage figure, and really glad they made one in this line. Overall sculpt is incredible, really love it. I love the articulation. The only thing that I dislike about this figure is the lack of black paint. I think that it needs a little bit more. I think it's a little lacking on the black paint. Other than that, I think it's an absolutely stunning figure with amazing articulation and so much character just in the design. The face and the hands just give such a Carnage kind of feel to them. I really love it. Tons of fun things you can do with it. Even just in a standing position like this, he looks like he has so much motion with the little like tentacles kind of like flapping around him, you know? So even just in a very simple just standing pose, he seems to have a lot of character, which I really do love. Definitely a figure that deserves to be on this countdown. The fifth spot on this countdown goes to the Captain America Marvel Legends Infinite Series AIM Soldier figure. So as you can see, I picked up two. This was definitely a very popular, if not the most popular, figure of the wave besides Black Widow. Overall, definitely worth it. A wonderful sculpt. Just something that's really new and unique, and it seems to be a completely new sculpt, which is just great. Some really odd proportions, of course, because that comes with the character, and they really represented it incredibly well in the figure and gave them a very cool and interesting look with some neat accessories. Definitely two wonderful figures and definitely deserving the spot in my countdown. Taking that fourth spot goes to the Gypsy Danger Hong Kong Battle 2.0 figure. Definitely a huge improvement on an already pretty good figure. Gypsy Danger is, of course, the star of Pacific Rim, so he should, of course, come with a toy that represents the magnitude of the character, and this one definitely does that. Some great articulation, which is one of the improvements in this 2.0 version, rather than the first, and not a lot of hindered places either. He's a ton of fun, really well painted, and comes with some really awesome accessories that you wouldn't have expected to get, but you really wanted to get, and you got him with this guy. Definitely a huge improvement over the first one, and just a ton of fun. I had a lot of fun taking pictures with him, and as you see on this countdown, a lot of the figures that I have on this countdown are figures that I personally had a lot of fun with, and this is no different. I had a lot of fun with this character, and this was just definitely a great figure, and definitely deserves to be on the countdown. And on to the third spot. As you can see, we do have the Guardians of the Galaxy Marvel Legends Wave Build-A-Figure Groot. So now this figure was one that I just absolutely loved, but I had a little trouble putting him on this list, and that was purely because he is a Build-A-Figure, and because he's a Build-A-Figure, he's hard to determine value, because of course you can't just go out and buy him, so you can't really put a price on a Build-A-Figure, which makes it a little hard to compare with the others. Nonetheless, I thought that he absolutely deserved to be in this countdown, and therefore my final decision was to add him. This figure is a ton of fun, just some great detailing throughout the entire thing. Really a lot of character went into this, and definitely a fun, interesting Build-A-Figure, especially considering the Build-A-Figures from this year have been a lot of repaints or re-sculpts, while this one is completely new, completely fresh, and a brilliant character that of course is a fan favorite from the movie. Overall, I really enjoyed this Build-A-Figure in its entirety, and definitely loved the character, so definitely deserving that spot on this countdown, and I'm very happy with my decision to include a Build-A-Figure. Alright, now we're getting into the really big leagues. As you can see, the number 2 spot goes to the NECA Pacific Rim Cherno Alpha figure. So now this figure was definitely a contender for first place. This guy and my first place were completely tied forever, and at the last second I just had to make a decision, so I decided to get this guy at number 2, although he could very easily be replaced with number 1. I have to say, really close this year between 1 and 2, but this guy is an absolute brilliant figure. I have to say, character-wise, he's one of my favorite Jaegers, so I was very excited to get the figure, and the figure did not disappoint. It just looked really great. It's very big. You get a lot of plastic for your money on this one when you compare it to the other figures in the wave, which is just great. Paint-wise is excellent. I see really no flaws, and there's a lot of little small detailing and words written on him, which is painted on very well and not bad at all, but they do give him enough kind of battle damage and scruffy look that he doesn't look all bright and shiny, which he shouldn't. So overall, I love that. And then when you go on to the articulation, it is absolutely breathtaking. You can get him in the Iron Man punching the floor pose, which is just an incredibly hard figure to get, incredibly hard pose to get a figure into, and you can do it with this guy. And this guy's, just a NECA Jaeger figure. Overall, it's just absolutely stunning. The only complaint that I had about it in my review was that I thought that it would be nice if you could kind of have a wrist swivel, or not a wrist swivel, but like a lower arm swivel right here, because it would have been nice for some poses having him punch forward, and I didn't think that he had it, and then one day I actually figured out that he had it, so that my only kind of complaint that I was going to say on my review ended up being voided, because of course he had the articulation that I didn't think he had. Overall, an absolutely stunning figure, a must-have for any Pacific Rim fan, and just a must-have for any fan that enjoys a good figure, I have to say. Definitely deserving that second place, and for a long time I did think that he was going to make number 1, but I did find one other figure that I had a little bit more fun with, so that's why he made it to number 1, and Cherno Alpha made it to number 2. Alright, and my number one favorite regular figure of 2014 did have to be the Amazing Spider-Man 2 Marvel Legends Infinite Series Spider-Man figure. So now this was one that took me by complete surprise. I really didn't, care for it very much before I, got it. I really wasn't excited for it is what I'm trying to say. I've got a million Spider-Mans, I don't need a million and one. Getting this one, though, was just absolutely blew my mind. Some of the best articulation I've ever seen. Just the articulation is absolutely breathtaking. One thing that I absolutely love about it is that the thigh joints are a little lower, so when you go to move his thigh up, you do get more range in there. It doesn't get stopped by his waist as early as it does in a lot of other figures, as well as it does have the kind of joint, I don't even know what you'd call it, that goes kind of like into his body at the shoulders that allows him to swivel forward and backward and then have his shoulder articulation. And then other than those two really great and interesting joints that you don't see very much, he has all the other joints that you'd expect that are just top notch, and there isn't a single joint that's even slightly hindered in this figure either. He has all the right joints. He has more than the right joints actually, and then none of them are hindered, which just makes it that much better, and definitely a wonderful figure, paint wise and sculpt overall looking great as well. And I just found just having a lot of fun with. I would pose him a lot when I first got this figure, and even after, I had him for a couple of months, I would still come back to him every now and then, because there's just so much that you can do with him, because his articulation allows it, and his character is very, kind of acrobatic oriented. He can do a lot of crazy, insane poses in the movie, and the figure can really translate it, and translate it very well. I have to say, definitely deserving that number one spot, because it is just a gem of a figure. Alright guys, so there are my top 10 favorite regular figures of the year, and this was a very unique year considering I've done, this the last 3 years, and during those 3 years, I have always had multiple 3 3/4 inch figures in my top 10, as well as the winner was always a 3 3/4 inch figure. This is the first year that it wasn't a 3 3/4 inch figure, and not only was just the number one not a 3 3/4 inch figure, but I just didn't have a single one in this entire top 10. Most of them were 6-inch Marvel figures, with the exception of a Transformer and 2 NECA figures. Overall, though, just a wonderful year for figures, and it really does show the kind of shift that Hasbro is having with 3 3/4 inch figures to 6-inch figures. When it came to the movies, they were making a lot more 3 3/4 inch figures a couple years ago, and now they're shifting that into 6-inch figures, which is interesting. Can't say I love that, because I do like 3 3/4 inch figures, but I have to say the 6-inch figures that they are providing are of top quality, and this video is just proof of that, because there are some great figures here. So like I said, this is just my opinions. A lot of these figures I based on the figures themselves, as well as just my personal preference of how much fun I had with them. So I'd like to see your guys' top figures or top 10 figures. Please let me know in the description, and tell me which ones you agreed with me on and which ones you disagreed with me on, because I'm sure there will be some of those. So there you go. That's my top 10 favorite figures of 2014. Thanks so much for watching. Before I go, I just wanted to show you quickly my winners from 2011, 2012, and 2013, and now we can add the 2014 winner. Overall, these figures they all had one thing in common: they were incredibly fun, and no matter the articulation, paint, sculpt, all of those were good on all of these, but the main thing was they were all fun. I found myself coming back to them multiple times during the year to mess around, to do poses and take pictures and do stuff like that. So this is definitely going to be the top figures of the year. Can't wait to see what my next year's pick is, and yeah, so thanks so much for watching.